So I'm Stephenie Andal. Thanks for that lovely intro. Who wants to be my guinea pig today and be a volunteer? Yes, thank you. Can you please keep me to time? 10 minutes. Give me the death signal at the end of that, because yeah, every one of us. I tend to be particularly wordy, so it's the most important for you to keep me on time. Thanks everybody for coming today. I heard it's been a fantastic session this morning. I'm sorry I wasn't able to join you, but I'm here to give you a little snippet into the work that we do in cybersecurity. But particularly today, I wanted to bite off one little area, which is cybersecurity careers and education pathways, because this is a really important piece of the work that we do in New South Wales and at the Commonwealth level. So I will talk for probably about 8 minutes and then maybe 1 or 2 questions, and then we'll move on to the next person just to get us going here. So today's presentation, this is where I'm going to go, what we're going to be talking about, who I am, who the New South Wales Cybersecurity Innovation Node is, really how we define cybersecurity and the opportunities and challenges as it comes to workforce development and developing pathways here in Australia, and then the different pathways and opportunities for prospective people that are trying to enter into the cybersecurity workforce. And maybe before I get going, who in this room today is trying to get into cybersecurity from a careers perspective? Okay, great. And are you in university or TAFE? University, hands up. Okay, great. TAFE? And apprenticeships? Okay. And everybody else is here as a practitioner. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so who am I? I'm the manager of the New South Wales Cybersecurity Node, as I was introduced. Our organization is a partnership between Commonwealth Government and particularly an entity called AustCyber, which is the Australian Cybersecurity Growth Network, and also New South Wales Government. My counterpart here, Teresa Pan, is going to be speaking after me, and she's my government counterpart at New South Wales. Our entity is part of a national program that's been designed to develop sovereign cybersecurity capability for the nation. And what I mean about that is products, services, and solutions for domestic market and also for key export markets. So that really means working with local cybersecurity startups and scale-ups to be building out opportunities for them and exporting their capability to customers and clients around the globe. The other part of the work that we do is working together with different stakeholders to be building collaboration across the cybersecurity sector. And from my perspective and that of my organization, cybersecurity still remains quite a new sector in Australia. And one of the key limitations that we still see onshore here is that this is an incredibly siloed sector. There's lots of fantastic capabilities, and you probably see this within your individual universities or TAFEs, as you're already part of them. You might be drilling down into one specific area of cybersecurity, but certainly within the discipline, there's lots of different areas of remit a part of it. And then once you get as involved as a practitioner, cybersecurity really does sit as a horizontal across the entire economy. So part of our work is to be here and driving facilitation across all of the different sectors onshore. And by that, I mean working together with Commonwealth government, state government, industry partners, the innovation acceleration ecosystem. And by that, I mean the venture capital community and entities that are here to be driving innovation across Australia. So my job is really to connect the dots across all of these different partners and make sure that everybody is talking to everybody else. We've got 2 key areas of work. One of those is cyber business innovation. That's sort of what I've been talking to already, and I won't drive into that today. But what I really want to tap into was this workforce development component, because I think that's what's most pertinent for most of the people in the room today. Now, you are all interested in cybersecurity, so I don't need to knock on about the opportunity that's before you. Certainly, that's why I entered into this sector. We've got a lot of global demand in cybersecurity. I don't need to harp on about the statistics, but they're quite impressive. $131 billion in spend in 2017, and an 88% increase by 2026. So this is the space to be. I think you're all really well placed to be in cybersecurity and looking at a future that's quite bright indeed. But we do have a problem, and our organization spends a lot of time trying to put forth solutions that will rectify even one small part of this. And that is the critical skills shortage that we do have onshore here. I should emphasize it's not just Australia. This is a global shortage. Many nations are facing a similar critical skills shortage as we are. Our statistics that are coming from my head organization, AustCyber, are that we are lacking 18,000 workers by 2026. So that's quite a stark figure, considering that we are a small nation and we do not have a massive headcount already. So really, a lot of the work that I do and my organization does is thinking of creative ways that we can be tackling this head on, the how. How are we going to be meeting this demand? How are we going to be meeting this need? What are ways that we can be working together with all of the stakeholders that are invested in growing cybersecurity capability to make sure that we've got an adequate talent pipeline? And those of you in the room, you are part of that solution indeed. So I'm just going to really quickly talk about some of the ways that we're working to be hopefully building this out for the future. So at a global level, one thing I want to talk about is sort of the best practice as it comes for tackling this project. And one of those is the NICE framework. Who here in this room knows about NICE? Teresa, excellent. Okay, a few. So really quickly, NICE framework has been put forth by the American government. It's called the National Institute for Standards and Technology, is that right? Yes, NIST, and they're responsible for setting standards from a technical capacity, and they have created the NICE framework, which is essentially a taxonomy that's creating common nomenclature and understanding around cybersecurity careers and the possibilities within that. Now, the great thing about NICE is that because it's been put forth by NIST and the American government, it sort of comes with a global best practice understanding around it. Most countries are advocating mapping to NICE, as we do within our organization and many of the organizations that we work with, because it is the best that we have so far to date. And instead of trying to recreate the wheel onshore here in Australia, we recognize that America is one of our partners, that we will look to them to be setting that global best practice standard. So in a really simple term, it is this framework that maps out different types of careers within cybersecurity so that we can start to understand the different options and availability there. The bad thing about NICE is it's incredibly complicated, and it's quite in-depth, and it gets quite granular as it comes to the detail within it. So that is a bit of a prohibitive barrier as it comes to how it can be utilized, depending on your level of interest in it. But here we've got 7 different categories of work that NICE is advocating for. And from our perspective, NICE is fantastic for prospective cybersecurity workers to be aware of, because certainly from that best practice standard, it's setting that barometer for the way that we're moving in cybersecurity and the different categories there. So we're working at an organizational level and sort of that policy level to be advocating for this framework. And certainly I highly recommend that those of you in this room who are interested in cyber, that you take a look at NICE, and please come and chat with me afterwards if you want to know more. And you can see here, these are the types of roles that NICE talks about. There are literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of more. So this is just a really quick snippet of what's available there and what they're talking about as it comes to the NICE framework. So onshore here, we still think of cyber as a people issue. Certainly automation is something that's a very important piece of the work that we're doing. We had a really fantastic talk last week at the Joint Cybersecurity Center where I work by a local cybersecurity company that's doing a security automated platform. And they were advocating for more automation to be taking away a lot of the grunt work, as it would, in cybersecurity, which I think is a fantastic way to be tackling the skills shortage. And I don't think it's something we should be afraid of. But at the end of the day, the human component is incredibly important as it comes to cyber, and certainly the main area that we are trying to tackle. So we are working together with different agencies and organizations and entities to be filling out as full of a picture as we can to creating a picture of opportunity for cybersecurity and different pathways into cyber. And I think it's our perspective that the most important thing is thinking creatively about where talent is coming from, and that the old trusted and true avenues and mechanisms for getting into specific types of careers may no longer apply. And particularly because the skills shortage is so acute, we need to be looking at multiple different ways at how we can get talent. So these are some of the things that I'd like to really quickly touch on of different opportunities for getting into cyber. And I really want to emphasize that education is not the end-all be-all here. Experience is really, really critical. And bringing those practical, hands-on skills into cybersecurity from an industry perspective are something that are incredibly needed. And we're seeing graduates coming into cybersecurity that've got all the qualifications on paper that they need, but they're still not ready to hit the job, right from the get-go, because they're lacking those critical skills that they have under their belts. So what I would recommend, and our organization is also recommending, we work really closely with the universities in New South Wales and TAFE, but also filling out your toolkit as it comes to potentially micro-credentialing options, short courses, and getting involved with grassroots communities in cybersecurity. So by that, I would talk about AISA. AISA's here today. They're going to be chatting in a little bit. Getting involved with entities and organizations that are in the grassroots or in the community, that are engaged with practitioners and are going to give you that experience and exposure to what it's like to be in the cybersecurity sector. There's also organizations like SecTalks, which is just fantastic if you're coming in as a practitioner into cybersecurity. And also, I asked off the top about apprenticeships and internships, because this is another really interesting way to be entering into cybersecurity. And again, it gives you that practical hands-on experience with cyber. It's not just theoretical knowledge, which is also fine, because that's how I came into cyber. So again, it's emphasizing that diverse approach into cybersecurity that's a little bit different, maybe, than what we see in other types of fields. And any kinds of competitions, hackathons, capture the flags, we certainly advocate for those, because again, industry is looking for these types of skills that you can develop and hone through these types of opportunities. And lastly, I just want to talk really quickly about some of the work that our organization is doing. We have a cyber talent accelerator at the New South Wales Cybersecurity Node, and that builds on a high school program that we have, and then work with TAFE and 8 New South Wales universities. To top that off, we've also got a CCAT diagnostic, which is actually developed by IBM. And this is a pre-assessment tool that students are taking to determine their suitability for cybersecurity careers. And we're also targeting this to existing workers in in industry who are not yet in cyber, who might be interested in moving across to cyber. So I'd be happy to chat with that some more with anybody here today. But I did particularly want to talk about Cyber Ambassador, because I'm looking at a room of talent, and I'm always interested in talking to talent. In the simplest of terms, a Cyber Ambassador is a cyber ninja or evangelist. And we take anybody who's really passionate about cybersecurity, about growing this ecosystem, about talking to people about cyber. And I would love to have a chat with anybody in the room today, if that sounds like you, because we basically embed cyber ambassadors into different events and opportunities in New South Wales to be talking to other students about growing opportunities for cyber. And it's just a fantastic way to have that representation piece and be getting in front of other people and saying, hey, have you heard about cybersecurity? It is not boring. It is not a guy in a hoodie. It is not somebody sitting in a darkened room. There are a plethora of opportunities in cyber that may be different than what you've always thought. So please, I'll be sitting at the front after, or you can pepper me with questions during the Q&A. Come chat with me after, and thanks for your time.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Teresa Pan from New South Wales Treasury. I am in a functional area called Industry Development, and I lead the implementation of cybersecurity industry development strategy. Often I got asked a question on what government is doing. So I think what I will do today is to give you a broad brush approach to let you know across the different agency what government is doing to look into the cyber sector. So the first one is, this by focus area. So first focus area is industry. It's about cyber as an economic sector on its own. And we released a New South Wales cybersecurity industry development strategy. That was the end of 2018. And one of the key actions under that strategy is how do we look after the business, its growth, its innovation, its export opportunities, and how do we support the workforce development. So as a result, we partner with the Australian government, AustCyber, and established the node. And you heard Stephenie speak a while ago, and that's the node. And we also have a program called Cyber Connect. Cyber Connect is a program where you can sign up and you will be kept informed on what we're doing, and then you can actually participate. Activities, seminars, events, consultation, workshop, whatever the case may be, when you receive that communication. So, and that implementation is mainly led by New South Wales Treasury. So other than the industry, the cyber businesses as an industry, we also have a focus on small business because most of New South Wales businesses are small business and they are very prone to cyber attack because at the moment, the cyber maturity and awareness across different business sectors are not high. So I'll be very frank. So the New South Wales government recently released the New South Wales Small Business Strategy 2020. The consultation actually just finished last Friday. And there is a major focus on how are we going to lift the capability of cyber within small businesses. And that work is also led by the Treasury. So the third one, the focus is on digital government, is on New South Wales government itself. And you probably might know, I just wonder whether people do know. Do anyone know about the New South Wales government cyber strategy? A show of hands. So most people know. So that is a government-focused strategy released in September 2018. So as a major deliverable of that strategy, in February 2019, the government, the New South Wales government, put together the New South Wales government's cyber policy. And under that policy, all the agencies, all the 8 clusters, have to report on their cyber maturity against the policy. And guess what the result is? If you kept watching the news, it's not good. It's not good. So the body that leads to drive the capability improvement is an organization called Cybersecurity New South Wales. And Cybersecurity New South Wales recognize that is less than ideal, so we've got work to do to lift the capability of government. So if you look at these 3, we're talking about businesses, cyber business, we talk about general small business, and we talk about the government. And all the work is really focused on lifting capability. So it's a very big piece for us. So if you look at the workforce development, and Steph covered quite a lot about the industry part of workforce development, filling the jobs and how we can use skills to fill the jobs. But we also need a pipeline. So we need fresh, people joining us, kids going through the school system. So there is a big part on the talent pipeline. So the Cyber Ambassador Program that Scott just explained to you is to stimulate kids, in school so that they know what it is to talk about it in community events so parents actually are aware that it is a pathway, there's a career out there. So I just got to show just 2 things. One is at the vocational level, there is a Cyber Cert 4, which is a national qualification in that. And New South Wales government, the Premier, actually announced fee-free traineeship. However, our task is to get cyber industry to provide the traineeship. So at the moment, we've got work to do there. There wasn't any traineeship around at the moment. And also, the Department of Education also announced to transform Meadowbank into a technology-focused campus. The Meadowbank campus is not just about TAFE Meadowbank. There is a primary school and a high school and vet and also is intended to be created as a technology-focused precinct. It's not just for cyber, but across emerging digital technologies, where cyber is one of the many. And needless to say, that's led by TAFE New South Wales. And last but not least, we are updating the New South Wales curriculum. And there are two pieces of work. One is the New South Wales curriculum review, and one is updating Stage 5 and Stage 6 curriculum in software engineering and enterprise computing. Now, a lot of people do not know, in fact, I came to know about it while we start doing cyber, is curriculum is actually designed and the consultation is led by the New South Wales Education Standards Authority, abbreviated as NESA, N-E-S-A. New South Wales Department of Education does the implementation. So once the curriculum is approved, then Department of Education will develop the teaching resources to support the delivery of curriculum in schools. And New South Wales Department of Education will only be doing it for public schools because it's a government. So private school, independent school, they will do their own. But the curriculum is driven down through NESA. So what we are doing is, while the work in the node, we actually is including the industry and inviting industry to get involved in discussions with NESA and also supporting development of teaching resources. And one of that sort of workshop had actually been conducted last year. So we will be doing more of those. The basic aim that we are going for is to make education relevant, up to date, in keeping with industry needs, and also make sure that we are not living in an isolated world, and that is for skills to come in the future. So I put down that the lead agency is New South Wales Department of Education, but that's more on delivering the curriculum. But the design of the curriculum actually is with NESA. So I think that's sort of like the broad brush approach on what government is doing. And at the back of it, not focused on cyber sector, there are also two things that are happening. One is the Department of Customer Service is actually developing a ethical framework on AI. So those who were here in the morning, we heard a lot of interesting things about AI, but it's all about how do you use the data. So how do you protect the privacy, So that is coming soon. And also, Department of Industry is leading the development of an innovation strategy. So if I know anything more, if we are on consultation, I would like to involve you. So to be involved and to be updated on a continuous basis, and you don't need to come to an event and let me talk, you can sign up Cyber Connect. So I am happy to share this set of slides, and all the links on the slide will take you to the page where the information, you can get more detail. Or just email me. Thank you.
So good afternoon, everyone, first of all, and thank you for joining this team today. And definitely we can see some great talks by Stephenie and Teresa. But first of all, we have to good luck to all the women. This is the IWD week, okay? So, sorry. So we have to, okay. So I was saying that this is the IWD week, and yesterday was International Women's Day. I definitely see some of the females here, and of course the championing the cyber network by Stephenie and Teresa. So big round of applause for them, first of all. So I'm here, as you see, I'm the AISA branch executive for NSW. And I'm here to talk about a bit of AISA. But before we go a little bit in more detail, I just want to check how many people know AISA. What is AISA is all about? Is anybody know AISA? Okay, let's minus the industry people. How many students know? Isn't? Okay, I can definitely see the few names. So AISA is Australian Information Security Association. It's a non-profit organization. So we'll just go to the slides quickly for you guys. And it should be a short presentation. We are just going to talk about a bit what AISA do. So, of course, there's a high-level agenda here for you guys to go through. So first of all, of course, I have just told that your what is ISA is about. It's a it's a non-profit organization, nationally recognized. We have around 6,000 odd members at this point in time, and it's basically as I think Stephenie talked about in the reach, connect, and all those things. This is basically kind of a network session which you guys can be part of. That you can connect with a lot of industry people. Once Generally what we do every month, we do a session, and that session basically have two speakers generally, and that speakers generally come from the diverse background. So you find someone. Last month we did someone from Sutherland Council. She was the CIO and she spoke about value. Then we have another person who talked about, Patrick Fair was there, and he talked about the privacy. And so we cover a lot of diversified session in that. And then you have all the industry people around that. You can connect with them to understand what they do as a part of their day-to-day work, what's going on in the industry. You have energy, like I work for energy sector myself, then you have financials and all those people. So I think it's a good connect for you guys to start with. And definitely I encourage that you should join one of the session whenever you have chance in the Sydney. We'll go to the next one. I'm not going to read this out, but this is the vision of ISA, which we are trying to promote at this point in time. I'll just quickly go to the next one. Oh, so this is what we are talking about in terms of free events and discounts. So for the students, there is a different joining membership fees, which is, of course, it's not too high. It's, I think, so $55 per year. It's a 55. Yeah. Okay, so it's free membership for you guys. So if you can go to isa.org.au, you can actually register yourself as a member, and then you can join all these monthly meetings we had, or the webinars and any other sessions we have. So I would suggest that you should definitely try to leverage that. It will help you to connect with the people because we get a lot of diversified people in that meeting. ISA is also very prominent about running the cyber conferences. If you've seen last year, the big conference in the Melbourne, or I think 5,000 odd people have joined that conferences. So this year we are again having the two conferences, one in Canberra in May, but the details are later, and then another one in October in the Melbourne. And what we encourage to the ISA member, if you are the ISA member, we encourage everyone to possibly get the guest if they don't want to pay the fees or the membership. You can come as a guest. Spend some time in the session to see what it looked like for you. You don't need to necessarily join and I should have not joined it. So we do allow people to come and have a guest, and then you can see how it goes for you. So as I just talked about the conference, so this year we have two conferences you can see in Canberra and Melbourne. So the theme this year, what has been chosen is the possibilities. And we have already some keynote speakers who will be speaking in these events. So if you are interested in joining any of these sessions, you can go to the ISA website. You can register for yourself for this event. And also, if somebody is keen to speak in any of these events, there is an opportunity for you guys to go and upload your profile with all your details. There are 40 odd domains that's available right now to select yourself which area you want to, because some people might be interested in doing a leadership talk on cyber, but some people are very, very technical and they possibly only talk about something architecture or design. So there are 40 odd domain, and you can go and register yourself if you want to speak. And there's a panel on the back end who reviews your request and everything. But there's an opportunity for you to be a speaker, not only the person as a person to join. So you can explore both of those opportunities. Okay, so from the members' benefit perspective, if you can see, we have few collaboration here. We have AICD, IC Square, SANS, CompTIA, BSI. So if you're planning to do any certifications, if you're planning to do a course with any of these institute or the organization, there is a discounts available. That discount information is available on the ISA website. If I remember correctly, for IC Square or CISSP, if, you get, I think so, 15% or 10% discount. So it's a big amount. It's not big amount, but of course, you have an opportunity to save some money being as a member, and also to contribute to the entire, community. That's more important. So we'll go to the next one. So if you look here, ISA is partnered with a lot of, so of course we talk about AustCyber just now with Stephenie, so we are the strategic partner, then AICD and IC Square, and then foundational partner, of course, Daikin University and NAB, and we have some core partner. So if you broadly look, it's not that it's a non-profit organization, but it's big support coming out from government, from the private organizations, from different universities and all those things, and we all are trying to support the cyber community, to build the network, to grow the network, to support each other. So yes, of course, you guys are free to join. You come, have some, attend some meetings, which happen, which we just generally post on the website. But this month meeting is on 24th of March. It is happening on the NAB North Sydney in the 5:30 in the evening. And if you really want to come, if you don't have membership, maybe you can drop an email to me on my email ID, and I'm happy to include you in the guest, and try to find out what it looks like for you. So that's pretty much from me, from ISA. Yep, thank you.
Hello, everyone. As Kafar said, I'm Jeff Whitton. I'm here today to give you a bit of a different angle on cybersecurity from the perspective of the commercial view of boards of directors and companies, and how they're coping with understanding cybersecurity and what it means for them as company directors personally and for their organisations. And I've been in the industry since 1980. I know you're going to say I don't look that old, but I was a child prodigy. And no laughing, please, no laughing. Come on, geez. Bridget this morning spoke about how old IBM is, and you'll see today that I'm actually in the IBM traditional uniform of blue, white shirt, white singlet, blue tie, black shoes. And that's what they once wore, once upon a time. And so I've seen a lot in the industry, I've seen a lot of changes, and cybersecurity is not new. It is popular today because individuals can make a lot of money from defrauding organisations and individuals, where once upon a time we just spied on countries, and there were rules. And in those days, the rules were that you only did what you needed to do without bringing organisations or companies down, or countries down. But today there are no rules. Anybody with access to the internet who has been trained in any of the OSI 7 layers can steal information, potentially. So how do we, my role, because I've been in the industry and I've also I am on the other side as a company director, I understand what company directors are going through, trying to understand how they are liable for something. If you speak to company directors, why are we liable for an industry that can't protect us? It's a very good question, isn't it? They buy a service, they buy technology, and then they are the ones who are liable if the information is stolen from their organisations. So there you'll see that we put up in big letters, protection of the information is the responsibility of the board of directors. They are liable for any breaches of the relevant acts that they come under, depending on which country they are in. We'll just talk about Australia. In Australia, there is the Privacy Act, which was changed in 2018 to incorporate cybersecurity and to bring in breaches of the Act to company directors should they not report the breach or put in reasonable effort to protect information. Now, the information they have to protect is your information, personal information, P2 data, PCI data, and health information. Doesn't matter if it's, as it says, spoken, written, electronic, created, transported, deleted. They are responsible for it. And you'll see up the top there, the challenge I have, and all of us have in our industry in educating directors who are expert in fiduciary obligations of their organisation and making money for their organisations and their shareholders, struggle to come to terms with some of the aspects of why they are liable for cyber breaches. So it's about changing a shift in the mindset, right? Their traditional role would have been to leave operational matters to operational people. Directors have governance over companies. Operational issues are, there's a line drawn between the directors and their executives and the CEO. And once upon a time, you weren't allowed to cross that line because then you would have a conflict governance-wise as a director for getting involved in operational issues of a company. Today, after the Royal Bank Commission, that is now being reviewed, saying that directors now need to put a foot in both sides of the line. They need to understand what's happening operationally, but they also need to maintain governance. There's a lot of words there. What we generally show directors is that this is information that probably most of you know. 97% of cyber attacks are against humans and not on machines. We are the weakest link in all of it because no matter how good we get technology-wise, it comes down to an individual who presses a button on their mobile phone, on their desktop or whatever it may be. We are weak, we are feeble, and we will do what we're told, basically. We've heard this morning from a number of speakers about what is most important in our technology industry. The most important thing in technology is what? What have we done for the last 100 years? We've provided and built technology applications to gather information. And that's what we're still doing. Information is gold. And that information is now being used against us to defraud us and to steal from us, basically. So it talks about the Australian Information Commissioner. Directors have basically 24 hours to report a breach under the Act that meets any of the criteria within the Act where they need to report it. They also then have a certain amount of time to then report back to the Commissioner what they've done about it. Then the Commissioner has the legal right and the power to investigate that organisation to determine whether they are negligent. And you'll see down the bottom here is a very scary word for directors. Culpability. Culpability. Directors of companies can steal off shareholders, steal off companies, and are subject to common law. If the shareholders have enough money and enough will to go after the shareholders in a court of law, they sometimes get their money back, and sometimes the directors go to jail. But when they are culpably liable, that's different. They can go after their family trusts. They can go after all their houses, their wives, their money that's been hidden away in all different areas. They can follow the money. So when we use words like culpability in a boardroom, there's a lot of, you need the defibrillator. And they say, how much money does our tech department need? It's a very good sales pitch. So, and I know it's not about scaring people, it's about educating them to a point, right? Because you've got to remember these people are skills-based boards. They are either solicitors, accountants, or they're HR people. And now, guess what? They are IT people. They actually put people on the board and look for them who have skills in technology. Trouble is, our industry is very broad, and as a couple of speakers, Steph said earlier, is that there aren't many people in the country who have a broad knowledge of the entire OSI model when it comes to cyber security. Traditionally, they would have been trained by the military or by government agencies. Very rarely were they trained in universities. So today, we are training people and educating them in the art of cybersecurity. But what do you have to teach them for them to be able to protect you? You need to teach them how to hack the network, because to protect an environment, you need to think like a hacker. So it is a double-edged sword, because when you speak to black hats and white hats, which my son is one of, 22, the other side of the spectrum is much more lucrative than protecting people. Then I have to remind him about what jail looks like. But then he says, but they can't catch me, Dad, because I'm using an unregulated currency, so they can't find me. He's got a point. So directors will say when we go through this, one, what's the industry doing about it and why is it our fault? And two, how do they get away with it and why do governments allow unregulated currency to be used? I can't answer that question, but they're very good points, and they're things that you need to be aware of when you're talking to people who make decisions on spending money with your companies or future companies. So you'll get the misconceptions from everybody, you know, it doesn't affect me, my employees are pretty smart, or we're too small, all those sorts of things. If you are a company director and your company turns over $3 million or holds information that fits in the PCI, P2 or health spectrum, then you are subject to the commissioner. Now, a lot of people say, we don't hold information about people's health. We don't hold information about their banking details. So I say to them, so you don't have employees and you don't have payroll? Oh yeah, we do that. Well, guess what you hold? You hold their banking details, and you probably hold information about when you employed them for when they were interviewed for the job about their health. So they do and are, even though they're small and may not turn over $3 million, hold information that could get them in trouble if they were breached. This is just a little track we go through to tell them that this is how a hacker can do stuff, but the area for directors is security policies, procedures and risk. That's where they sit, even though they need to know about the rest. So, we ask directors some questions when we talk to them, or boards. They're the questions. They're only a minute set of questions, and I didn't want to go through the whole lot because I've only got 10 minutes and I hope my timekeepers keep me honest. Where am I up to? I'm over, am I? Oh, geez. Does that mean I get my hourly rate? So there are some of the questions that boards don't know. You can ask any board these questions. They don't know them. These are the sorts of things that we train and we get them across, right? All of those things there, they're not new. They're all part of the realm of the Cyber Security Centre in Australia. Their parent, they're not their parent company, but their peer company in the UK and NIST in the US. They all follow this type of structure to get company directors across understanding what they need to put in place in their organisations to try and protect their organisations. Because at the end of the day, this is what we as engineers and technologists are trying to do for companies. The whole idea is to use technology for its best advantage for organisations. Here we are, we live in an age now where technology is actually being used for the first time for the longevity of humans, and people are stealing off us. Thank you very much.
I guess we've got a lot of students, practitioners, ambitious people in the room. So I'm going to give you, a bit of a view of kind of the landscape and what we're facing today in the cyber industry. I actually represent IBM Security in Australia and New Zealand. We're about 220 people. So, there's kind of, if you think about your situation, there's a few different domains you can kind of get into within a practice, I guess. On the right-hand side is an R&D facility, or it's actually a development facility. Teresa, I was talking to her before, actually on the Gold Coast, which is where I live. And we've got about 80 people that are building products for global market. And our sales team here actually gets to sell it, and I get to go and talk about it. So That's kind of at the heart of what we're doing here in Australia and New Zealand. But we're kind of as per a business, we're driving out and meeting with the key clients in the market. And my job, I would be meeting more CISOs than probably anyone in the country every year. Last year, I would have done hundreds. I'm a very expensive person to fly around, even though I sit up the back of the plane. I've got a lot of strong views about where we're at and where we need to go, and I'll try and share some of that with you. I'm actually a software engineer. I became a master inventor because I kept coming up with new ideas to solve cybersecurity problems. But I'm now a cybersecurity professional, right? So, I guess when some of the other folks here said that, we didn't really start in security, I didn't start in security either. I just landed in a company that just so happened to be building products for the global market. And our company got acquired by IBM. In fact, IBM Security as a global firm is about $3 billion in revenue. And we started it, Australians actually started this out of Southeast Queensland. We're the first company to be acquired by IBM. And we've acquired something like 20 companies since. So it's a very dynamic industry. It keeps growing. The challenges are getting bigger, and we need new problems to solve, new solutions to solve some of those bigger problems. I think we've heard enough today about what's happening out there. We've got legislators who are asking for compliance. We've got hackers that are well-funded and successful. The CISO's role is incredibly difficult because at the same time, they're being asked to support a transformation initiative for cloud, right? So everyone's talking about cloud, how are we moving our old applications out into the new world or building new applications for the new world, right? So the job of a CISO is really something like 80% of applications still haven't gone out to the cloud. You might have heard that this morning, I don't know, which means that we've got a massive amount of work to do in security. And most of my clients I go and see have a huge number of tools, technologies, services that they're acquiring or they've acquired, and they're really struggling to get them working together, right? So all the work's being done down below when it should be being done, up on top in terms of a platform type approach. Right? And this really is just a reflection of the lack of maturity in the security market, right? The technology that's being delivered over time, and we've acquired 20 companies ourselves, hasn't really gone to the next level in terms of when I think of some of the cloud native capabilities that are helping IT deliver more effective solutions today, right? So by the way, this is the modern IBM outfit. I was acquired in 1999, 2000. I still got the Queensland accent, so people kind of like it. But yeah, but it's a wonderful company that's been around for a long time. This is kind of I think if you think about defibrillators, this is kind of when I think of the blood pressure of the CISO. When I walk into a meeting, they've just got too much to do. In fact, some can't even meet. They've got so much happening that they can't get through the workload that they're on so that they can think of a more disruptive approach, right? So what does it mean? I wanted to give you a few things today to help you, as students, practitioners. IBM actually provides all of our threat intelligence for free, right? So you can all go on and register. It's called the XForce Exchange. If you want to learn about any types of attacks, any indicators, you want to share it with your friends or partners, you can go and do that through this particular website. Because it's kind of part of that open, transparent, global kind of give back that companies like IBM want to participate in, right? We call it collaboration. We don't really want to own the threat intel and then sell it as a competitive differentiator. We want to help drive this into organisations so they can do a better job of understanding what the threats are and risks are inside their organisation as per what's seen on the outside, right? So that's something that you should go and have a look at. Just in terms of our strategy, if you think, IBM's, we got, $3 billion in revenue just in security. They must be doing something good. We look into the future. We're not really worried about, fighting down in the trenches on tools and technologies that everyone else sells. We're trying to solve bigger problems. And we're totally focused now on supporting security for what we call multi-hybrid cloud, and which is really a fancy name for compute, which might be on-premise, it might be in a public data center, it might be as a software as a service offering It might be a platform, right? So anything associated with that, we're focused on, and that's kind of come down to, we have consultancy, threat management, which is everything about detect and respond. Am I being hit? What should I do if I do get hit? Who's going to help me when I do? That's about saving shareholder, retaining shareholder value, reducing reputational cost, and we've seen 2 major incidents in the last couple of months where organisations suffered publicly because of some breaches. The other part is really, how do I prepare my IT landscape so that security is built into my program as I kind of roll that forward, right? So it's about instrumentation and then action, right? So if you're a practitioner building applications, you're kind of over here. You're thinking of things like identity and data, both of which have come up today. And on this side, you're thinking about, how do I efficiently, when everything hits the fan, I can tell you what happens is you're looking around for the person who's going to take the bull by the horns and actually drive this thing through to completion. It's not always the people that you think it is. It may not be the vendors that you think it is, but those are the kind of traits from a human perspective that you need when you're dealing with crises. And we are all, as humans, going through what could be a crisis right now. If you look at the way that something like the coronavirus is being handled, that kind of simulates what cybersecurity needs to get to, but in an action-oriented, real-time type way, right? So healthcare actually has a fair alignment. How am I going for time? A few minutes? Okay, so I've kind of talked a bit about what we're doing today, what we've done in the past, what we're doing today. Our focus being on instrumenting security into IT workloads, and also the detection and response elements. Of course, supporting legislative requirements, advising government, helping those government departments detect and respond as well. We're in and behind a lot of that. I can tell you IBM's, I'm in Canberra every week, and we're active in all of the major departments, right, in terms of defending this nation. Pretty much all of the identity stuff that you guys use as citizens was out of the lab on the Gold Coast. So MyGov, everything connected to MyGov is still run by software that comes out of Queensland. We obviously sell it. It goes global, comes back, we sell it here. But anyway, another thing can I go back? There we go. Another thing to have a look at, open standards. We're contributing to an open standards initiative called the Open Cybersecurity Alliance. Its job is to try to develop a data sharing between vendor products that are inside of an organisation, right? Which is very different to what's been done before. So that customers can drop in solutions and have them integrated without people actually going and doing that integration today. That's a huge initiative. It's only just started. IBM started it with McAfee and about 15 other vendors. And that's going to break through some of this waste that's going on in the IT industry around integration, right? So just wanted to put that, and you guys can all go and watch it, show a keen interest. The market's not really ready for it. It's going to come. It has to come. That's how these bigger problems actually get solved. So today, I want to leave you with just some technology outlook. Most people here understand cloud platforms, run it anywhere. Edge computing, 5G, you're kind of getting into a bit of that at university. Those paradigms are creating data at rest that today is being centralized in security. All right, we're bringing it to the middle. We're trying to do analytics. It's becoming a big it's too big. Not enough skilled people able to analyze that data and then detect and respond to incidents. What's happening is we're starting to move analytics out to the edge, right? So that security incidents can be found in the cloud infrastructure, in the 5G towers, right? In edge computing devices. What that's going to do is help us then to federate those things together and produce more effective response processes, or detection, but also response processes that we have today. That means when you think of a vendor, an outsourced vendor arrangement, where if I think of Azure, Microsoft, or Google who have analytics capability as well, they're going to do analytics in their clouds better than IBM can do in their cloud. like in terms of threat detection, right? So leave it to them, but own and manage things like incident response. Own and manage the threat intelligence piece, but be the orchestrator of these incidents that might be happening at the edge. The market is nowhere near that today. And we've pioneered a new platform. If you're a software engineer, you can take a look at this. When you build a web app today, you don't worry about databases and application servers and what brand they are. You grab things from open source and you drop it into a platform and you use it and you push out your application when it's done. You write the code above the platform. What's actually happening today in security is everyone is worrying about the databases and applications. They're not worrying about, they can't put the use cases together, right? So what we're doing is we've delivered this new cloud pack aligned with the rest of the branding. We get dragged along with this cloud pack for security. But its job really is to deliver a platform so that you can orchestrate cybersecurity use cases on top of it without having to worry about the stitching together of it below. And it can do it across multi-cloud, connectors into AWS, into Google, into your on-premise environments, so that you can kind of start to federate and own incident response inside of your organisation, right? So just another thing to go and have a look at. We're the only ones who do it this way. Everyone else says, give me your data, put it all in our data lake and we'll analyse it. It's just not going to scale when you think of the way that edge computing is kind of going. So hopefully we're down to 110 over 70. I'm feeling much more comfortable. And don't read too much about coronavirus or you'll be back at 180 over 60 or over 90. So whatever it was. So thanks very much for your time.